Welcome to all. Welcome to our Eternal Vedic Science study group. So welcome to this class. We're going to talk about modern science and the Vedas. It's easy to find online ancient science and the Vedas. We were talking about this before. How did the ancient Indians build the first clock? Or how could they measure time or temperature? Or where does Ayurveda come from? But what we don't see is how modern technology, for example, quantum physics or quantum mechanics or DNA technology, is related to the most ancient manuscripts on earth, which are the Vedic literature. Some people say, no, in Egypt or in Mesopotamia, they found some sheets of paper, papyrus, that are even more old. But this is not correct. They are measuring the time of the paper, not the time of the knowledge. See, if I take a picture of you today, that doesn't prove that you are younger to her or older to her. It's just the picture. It's just the exam that they do is about the piece of paper, but not the knowledge. And in the Vedic scriptures, we have news about when Egypt, Mesopotamia, and the West came to become civilizations. So India is the main point of view. And one of the proofs about this is the statue of Shiva Nataraj at the entrance of the CERN, the European Council of Nuclear Research, where the famous particle accelerator was built. It costed $4.75 billion. And why is Lord Shiv there? Someone said, no, it's because the Indians gave them a gift. Well, I would invite other countries to give mythological gifts to this very expensive lab and see if they would accept the gift. Let's suppose in America they send a mythological figure like Mickey Mouse, or people from Italy send Pinocchio to put him in front of the most expensive lab ever built in the West. Why is Lord Shiv there? Those who understand about Vedic culture can even see that elements of puja are placed around this murti, this image of Lord Shiv. There is water, lights pointed to him, and this is related to knowledge. Someone knows who has to be there. Now, and we also know that Lord Shiv is very keen to listen to people's pledge, right? It's even described like this in the Shastra. Some people have difficulty in understanding the divinities of Vedic culture. To the Westerns, sometimes, to introduce them to this knowledge, we can explain also that the Vedas understand these divinities of being also personifications of universal laws. So when we talk about Shiva, the Lord of Destruction, we could also think that the law of entropy, the second law of thermodynamics, which says that everything in the universe is doomed to decay, to be destroyed, could be identified with this image that has more secrets than what we can talk about now. Allow me to introduce myself before we start. My name is Claudio. I was born in Brazil from an Italian family, and I studied in Italy comparative literature and philosophy, focusing in the nature of artwork and human culture. And I also studied narrative theory from mythology to cinema while I was working for an Italian TV state channel. And I edited magazines and I contribute to newspapers, and I taught at the Indian Cultural Center of São Paulo, Brazil, or the Museum of Modern Art, the Bank of Brazil Cultural Center. But most of all, I would say that because I don't identify with the things that I've done, but with the things that I'm trying to understand and who I'm trying to serve, that my life has been defined by studying all possible forms of religions and philosophies to find the meaning of life. Why are we here? This is what a philosopher does. We try to understand why are we alive, what is going on. Why is the sun hot? Why does Ayurveda work? What is the meaning of this experience? So both from a human point of view or from an academical point of view, I would point to the Vedic culture as the most complete philosophy that is totally in line also with modern scientific principles. Not only ancient science, as we said in the beginning, but also modern science is contained in the Vedas. So I'm directing this free study group online called Eternal Vedic Science to prove, especially here in India, that the Vedas are not mythology. People say, no, the Indian mythology, because they think of Greek mythology or because they think of other countries' mythology. But the difference between Indian Shastra, the Indian manuscripts, and all the other philosophies in the world, with all due respect to all of them, is that Indian philosophy is scientifical. So it's not possible to compare the Indian manuscripts to any other manuscript. And I'm a Western person. So I could be parting for Italy or for Brazilian culture, but I'm not. Why? Because the Vedic Shastra, the Vedic scriptures, contain all the sciences, yoga and Ayurveda and everything that is around us. The beautiful temple of Udupi and all the other contemporary use of science, even this projector, as we are going to see. Even this pointer is related to Vedic culture, as those who saw the class of astrology understood already. The Wi-Fi technology is going on all around us in the universe. So, the first time I came to India in 2015, I was dressed in kurta and dhoti in a plane, and I remember this young Indian student that came to me. He sat on my side. He said, "Can I sit close to you?" It was empty. It was a flight in the middle of the night. And he said, "Why are you dressed like this? Do you believe this craziness? We are getting rid of this. Stop studying this. We are all studying the Western culture. Your culture is the right culture." And this, we can notice even meeting people in the streets. If you meet young people, they're behaving like Americans or like Europeans or Brazilians. They want to party, they want to go out at night, they don't have respect for their parents, and they curse a lot. Every 5 words that this boy said to me was like the F word or the S word or the horrible words that we use to point to ugly things. If you look at the dictionary, profanity is an offensive use of language, which is used to respond offensively to an aggressor. And I get shocked today, not talking to the wise Indian people, because they are the most wise people I've ever met in my whole life, but talking to the young ones. They come to me cursing every 3 words. And I ask myself, why are they imitating the worst kind of society that we have in the West? Is that modern? The Indian knowledge says that everything you pronounce, you touch. Your mind is able to touch things through language. Language is what characterizes us intelligent. So why should we be touching excrements every 5 seconds with our mouth? Who exist to distribute and to share knowledge and truthful things. And why am I saying this? Because the Vedas also say that our behavior creates our intelligence, not the opposite. This is amazing, that acharan creates buddhi. That the way you behave in your day-by-day life determines the way you understand things. So we would say it's the opposite. No? If you are intelligent, you behave well. But the Vedas says that if you behave well, you become intelligent. And this is the way for understanding Vedic scriptures. How come people think it's mythology? Because they don't behave well anymore, not even only in India, but also in the West. And then when they open the Shastra, they cannot understand what is there. For example, the Vedas explain that the universe is a gigantic uterus. The yoni is literal. Made for souls who are still immature, who cannot understand their relation with what? With the infinite. And this is the answer of the meaning of life. Why are we here? To understand and to learn how to love the infinite. It's easy. So why do we exist? To exchange love with the infinite. And what is this world? It's a platform, it's a place for us to learn love. That's why it's called in Sanskrit Prithvi Devi. Currently, in the West, and I believe also in India, most academic environments forbid people to believe in God. When I went to university in Rome, I remember the first class I had, because Rome is a very religious place, different religion, but also considered to be a place where people believe in God. And the teacher said, here inside the university, it's forbidden to talk about God because it cannot be proved. Well, those who saw the class, the scientific proof of God's existence on the YouTube, on our channel, they know that we can prove the existence of God, understanding the nature of sound. So, in the medieval times, even here in Goa, the Inquisition used to burn people alive if they say, I don't believe your God. But now they burn people that say, I do believe. Isn't it? And I even saw modern Vedantists in England teaching people saying that, we Indians were so primitive in the past that we couldn't understand fire, and we used to say that fire was a demigod because we were primitive. That's the level of some... It was an Indian man who owned a whole building in England. And you know that England is very expensive. To have a building in England, like you have a lot of pounds, right? But how is it possible that people teach that the Vedas are not true? So what is fire, for example? No? The Vedas talk about Agni Dev, the demigod of fire. Where is fire happening? Everywhere. Everywhere in the cosmos, fire is happening, right? And according to circumstance, place, atmosphere, fire behaves in specific ways. That candle that is lit over there. We cannot take that candle and burn ice or burn glass. No, we need a very high temperature to burn glass. Why? Because it's determinate like this. And who is ruling this? People would say, okay, the universal laws, but all the laws are not acting on all the things. So there is a specific part, that's why it's called demigod, no? That we translate it like this. It's a part of the universe which is ruling fire, controlling what can be burned in which temperature, which is the color of the flame. Why can't we burn water? Fire is obeying determinate specific laws. And this part of the universe, which is responsible for those laws, can be called Agni Dev. Not to talk about the sun. We talk a lot about the sun in the other classes. We're looking to a demigod every day in the morning. He's so beautiful that you cannot even look straight at him. It's described that because the sun is beautiful, we humans cannot look straight at him. And what is he giving? Blessings, health, good humor. No? We are happy when we see the sun. When the rainy season is over here in South India, how glad we feel. The sun is back. Why? Because the blessing is back. So everything is true. And the Vedic manuscripts talk about an engineering Trimurti. So there is a power which is calculating and projecting creation. Lord Brahma. A power that sustains reality, Lord Vishnu. So someone is saying, okay, we're going to design atoms and atmospheres and the bodies and quantum physics and time like this. And someone is holding up the project, is putting the power, creating the atoms. No, it's described that Paramatma is not only inside our heart cave, it's also inside every single atom of reality. That's Lord Vishnu. And the destructive force of all cycles, Lord Shiv. And if we compare this to other religions, Trimurtis, they talk about the creator, the savior, and the consolator. But can you explain to me what is the scientific role of someone who's consolating everyone? It's not there. If you want to learn more about this, I would ask you to watch this class on our channel on YouTube, The Scientific Proof of God's Existence. Nothing in this universe is random. Most scientists will confirm this statement. Because if you change one single number, of all the equations that hold up reality the way it is, we wouldn't have the universe the way we know it. Nothing would be there if you change one element. So it has to be the way it is, and that proves that the universe is a perfect living clock. And also, if everything is perfect, if nothing is random, DNA is not random. People look at the universe and they say everything is perfect, but humans, we are not. And in a way, they're blaming God. They think, okay, no, God cannot be perfect because He cannot do perfect beings. Let's think of the sun again. Can't the universe produce something perfect and full of power? Why are we imperfect? If the DNA is not random, it can prove karma, and we're going to see how. Okay, what is karma? Karma can be translated in the Sanskrit dictionary, and some people in the West, I don't know, in India, say that the dictionary is the father of the fools. Do you have this expression in India? It's a horrible expression, because the dictionary is the father of the wise. Those who are clever open the dictionary to see the meaning of the words. They don't look inside themselves to find meaning of things. The meaning of things are in tradition. It's reality who has meaning, not only our mind who gives meaning to things. So what does karma mean? Karma means action, work. So every day when you go to work in a hospital, for example, on a yoga studio, on online school of philosophy, you are fulfilling your karma. You have to do that. Because karma also means destiny, consequence, retribution, result, the fruits of our actions. We see many people explaining things around us nowadays, even in India, but very little of them open the grammar, the Sanskrit dictionary. For example, I find a lot of people who cannot explain what ego is. What does ahankar means? People say the true meaning of ego is your arrogance. Yes, arrogance is one of the meanings, but what is the factual, real meaning? The spiritual meaning. Many people who are studying for years, they don't know. So it's part of your ego. Everything that is related to this experience, your gender, your face, your DNA, the money your parents had when you were born, the money you have on the bank now, the social level of society you took birth, the country, the city, the difference between South India and North India. It's part of your history. It's part of your ego. Can you take it out? No. People say you have to destroy your ego, so I'm going to have to destroy the body too. My name too. Right? The spiritual process is not about destroying the ego. It's about leaving the temporary ego and acquiring your eternal ego, your eternal individuality, your eternal personality. But let's go back to karma. So, the action and reaction law is described in the Vedas millennia before Newton. I wish we had time to talk about how did Newton found out his theories. And of course, the Vedas is the answer, like always. And what does the law say? For every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. But it's lacking one piece that is right in front of us. What is happening in this figure? Space and time. When you release the ball, it will click the other ones, and at a certain moment, this ball will jump out. So, to complete the law, we could say that the karma law says that for every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction through space and time. And this leads us to understand reincarnation forcibly, because everything that you cannot finish to receive in this life, you are forced to receive in space and time. So it goes on, right? But we're not talking about this today. How can we present further proof of the existence of karma? You've noticed that people today are reducing our identity to our digital print. The phone, the bank. Why? Because that is unique, right? So the Vedas say that in the palm of your hand, your karma is written. It's been already more than 5 years now that I've been studying chiromancy. You say chiromancy in India? Palmistry. Because the position of these lines represents a relation with the universal energy. How? The lines in our hands translate the blessings of the universe and warn us of obstacles and abilities. The Vedas explain that they correspond to what the demigod Brahma says about the karma of each one of us. Therefore, they're like a recording, an impression on the skin of a sound frequency. Just like an ultrasound examination that I did 2 weeks ago in the Mayapur hospital. You check the sound of the organ to see if it's okay. But who are we checking? We are checking the blessing, the sound blessing of Lord Brahma. What kind of liver was produced, and which is the state of that liver in that moment in space and time when you are 49. And this ultrasound sticks to our hand like if we burned it against the sound vibration. Those who saw the class of astrology, they know it. The planets are emanating energy, and this is the exam, the result of the exam of that energy in our hand, like a biological barcode that works when you open the door or when you sign your own cell phone, right? These lines are created at the time of our conception and the time of our birth. And they are unique because only you have that karma. So the planets are doing something like this, and our digital print is the burning of this energy in our baby skin. Let's read the Srimad Bhagavatam. Real scholars who have actual knowledge of the truth define sound as that which transmits the idea and the presence of an object in space, indicating the existence of a source. That's how the Omkar proves the existence of the spirit. Whereas the sound of Om, we explained it in the class of the scientific proof of God's existence, that the Omkar prove the source, a non-material source. And what is the Om? The Om is the subparticles of the atoms. It's the electromagnetic pulse inside matter. That is what the Om is. You can watch this class and see this explanation step by step. But we still think it's mythology when we read the divine lotus, which springs from the navel pit of Vishnu, is in every way related by the spiritual tie with all souls, and it is the origin of four-faced Brahma versed in the Vedas, Brahma Samhita. With our modern ideas about planets, we read the Vedas and we mistake the lotus flowers as a poetic, inaccurate expression. We think it's wrong. My God, the primitive Indians thought that the worlds were flowers. So ridiculous, so primitive. Is it? This is the pattern that Venus leaves in the sky while it's moving from our point of view. This is the pattern of Venus in the sky from Earth. Let me explain this better to you so that you can understand. For example, today Venus is here, tomorrow it's going to be here, and the next day it's going to be here, and then it's going to be walking in the sky this way. When it gets retrograde, it comes to this point here, and it keeps revolving and moving like this. I think this is the pattern of Venus for 8 orbits or something like this. I don't remember exactly which one. So the star is rotating, but we cannot see because we are framed in our time measure. But the star is moving. And if you could see through time, you would say this. Are we talking about mythology? This is the orbit of Mercury, Venus, Mars, and Jupiter, seen from the Earth. Do I need to say that these are the lotus flowers that we were talking about? I talk a little about time and space being an illusion in the class about God, but one day I want to really go inside time-space illusion. But can you imagine, from a point of view of someone, I'm not going to say who now, who could see through time, what does that being could see? Flowers going around, right? So, let's go back to our main question of the day, karma or DNA. If Lord Brahma pronounces the karma of each human being and each living entity, how can we believe in that and at the same time believe in DNA? Because we learned that the DNA is the combination of father and mother put together. A cocktail comes up, it's thrown like dice, and then you come out in a certain way. So, there's nothing related to God. But let's see what is DNA. DNA is the instruction manual on how the body should be built. It is surprisingly that the organization of this manual, says the Simple Science Project, is more subtle and elegant than we could ever have imagined before analyzing its operation. So we are talking about something very elegant and sophisticated. Have you ever seen any random thing coming out elegant and sophisticated? If you break a glass into the floor, how does it come out? Chaos. Random things are never sophisticated and elegant. And scientists speak of a twisted letter or a twisted sentence when they talk about DNA, like a spiral staircase with 2 handrails, one on each side. It's made of sugar and salt molecules. I joke with my students in Brazil. I talk about salt and sugar as good and evil, blessings and curses. Of course, we need to go further, and we would need a scientist to help us decode the meaning of salt and sugar in a spiritual point of view, but it is just a joke for now, which brings to mind an evolutionary tension. Okay, so there are two tensions, one going up and one going down. In the same way that we can evolve and we can devolve in our lives. We can go towards knowledge or towards ignorance. The difference between one human being and another, according to science, corresponds to a fraction of 1% of the structure of the DNA. And what is DNA explained, for example, in an easy research online? These 4 letters are combined, we're talking about 4 types of protein, into 3-letter words. The words make up the genes, which are like sentences. Each sentence has an important meaning or story to the body. So we are talking about words and sentences. As everyone has heard, DNA forms chromosomes. If we printed the letters of one of the chromosomes into a book, we would have a book of 200,000 pages. How much would it be? Like higher than the roof of this class. We would need like piles and piles and piles of books. In total, there are 6 billion pairs of proteins inside the chromosome. When one cell doubles itself, they can produce millions of these books in just a few hours. So, let's understand what does the word code means, because we talk about the DNA code, right? A system of signals used to represent letters or numbers in transmitting messages. If someone wants to transmit you a message, what is the first thing that this person needs? Before anything, he needs to have conscience. Otherwise, he cannot speak. Right? So if it's a message, you need a writer. A message, a language code presupposes an intelligent source. So whoever is dictating DNA is very clever. How many heads might he have? The DNA, in a modern metaphor, is like a microfilm, like a movie in front of a projector. And what happens in the body? The chakra, as we explained in the other class, is connected to the power of the planet. So it's going to read the movie, the microfilm, and it's going to project the organ using the mother's chemical elements. So, according to what is written on the DNA, we're going to have a strong liver or a weak liver. A Pitta Kapha structure with an imbalance of Vata. So imagine the baby taking birth. Some ladies here had babies, no? How did you build the brain of your baby? How did you made it? And the heart? How did you do it? Is there any mother here who can answer my question? All Matajis in the world, can they answer? How did they make the brain? How did they make such a beautiful hair to her daughter? They don't know the answer. Why? Because they didn't do it. If you ask them, how did you cook dinner? Or how did you paint this painting? How do you do your work? How did you become a yoga teacher, such a good yoga teacher? You know the answer, don't you? Because you did it. But you didn't build the brain of your children. Not even your husband did. Who did it? The chakras in the baby, reading the DNA, allowed that baby to have a super good liver, a perfect brain, weak bone structure. So it receives electromagnetism from the planet, Wi-Fi power from the planet. The planet empowers the chakra. The chakra reads the DNA, the instruction. He takes the atoms of the mother, the chemical elements, and he sculpts, he builds organ by organ. Some organs are stronger, some organs are weaker. Just like a 3D printer. So the chakra is going to use oxygen, carbon, hydrogen, nitrogen, calcium, and phosphorus to build up our face. That's why some brothers are tall, some brothers are small. Because we have different karma. So this is a representation of a magnetic field, an electromagnetic field of the star, which is captured by the chakras, like the Epson projector in front of me capture this signal. And this is an image of the lotus flower called Brahmalok, a representation, of course, from where the architect, Lord Brahma, the bioengineer, is pronouncing our karma. Connected, it's Brahma Samhita that says the first star is connected to the relativity of all things. So time and space is connected to the first star of the universe. It's invisible to our eyes. Why? Because it's out of time and space. It's on the penthouse of existence. So he can see through time, and that star can see and organize time and space. It is itself the vortex of the organization of time and space. And Lord Brahma is the personification of that star. In the same way that we can understand that the sun has a personification, he is aware of being the sun. He is feeding thousands of beings. This is the meaning of the famous mantra that say, in the morning the sun sees himself reflected in thousands of rivers, ponds, drops of water, right? Because he is looking. He is able to see. It's described in the Vedas that we can only see because we are immersed in the vision of the sun. We are sharing his vision. And that's why we have lamps, because we imitate the sun. So Brahmalok is in the vortex of time and space. I don't know if you saw representation of time and space. Our experience with time is not what is really happening. What is really happening is that the universe is producing, according to modern science and according to the Srimad Bhagavatam, a different body of yours moving inside frames of time, like in a movie. You know, when you see a real movie and you see the people in the old kind of pellicula, and the movies that we used to see 20 years ago before the digital movies, that you see frames, photo frames moving of the movement, ta 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 ta, like this. The universe is producing this, and the soul is surfing the body and the experiences and changing and looking at things in the point of your consciousness place. It's kind of difficult to explain. I would try to do it in a class only dedicated to this. But for example, this could be your lifetime. You take birth here and you leave your body here. So inside time and space, you have this adventure to fulfill and to try to understand what is going on around you, which is the infinite, right? So in the beginning, there was the Om, as we explained in the other class. I'm not going to explain this again. And technically, Brahmalok is placed in a position where he can see the projection of the Big Bang through time and space and see all the civilizations, all the yugas and the kalpas and the manvantaras. We explained this, the universe age, total age, the measure of the Big Bang bubble is 311.04 trillion years. So the first star is ruling time and space, and it's also ruling DNA. We can also represent it like this, or like this. Let's read the Brahma Samhita again. When the expansion of the Absolute inside the cosmic womb, Vishnu, desires to create this universe, a golden lotus flower sprouts out of his navel, the center of his transcendental body, placed upon a whorl. You heard that, eh? There's a lotus flower and a whorl. Such is Brahmalok, the first super excellent star of material reality. This initial reality, controlled by the first living entity, is connected to the relativity, the material bodies and karma, time and space of all living beings. He possesses the key of material existence. So Lord Brahma possesses the key of this material existence. And what is the whole of Brahmalok lotus flower, if not Lord's Brahma DNA? The Lord is pronouncing all the empowerment. He can do this. He can understand time and space. He can create civilizations. Vishnu is giving power. That's why he's the sustainer. He's giving power to the Creator for the Creator to create. It's the DNA of time and space, the DNA of Brahmalok. This is all the modern technology described in the Vedas that I've collected recently. So in the 19th century, the Westerns found out the speed of light, which was already written in the Rig Veda. On the 17th century, the planets beyond Saturn. On the 20th century, the idea of traveling throughout the cosmos, it was already in the Srimad Bhagavatam. The Brahma Vimohan Lila. Have you ever heard of it? When Lord Brahma steals the cowherd boys from Krishna. We all saw this, maybe even in cartoons in India. And then he comes back after 1 second and 1 year is passed. And Krishna had lived because he produces the other bodies out of his own body, of the boys and the calves. And 1 year is passed when Lord Brahma comes back. But in the scriptures it's described that Lord Brahma just turns his face and comes back. Why? Because it is in a different time frame. So there is relativity. Einstein is in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Gravity, the ultraviolet rays, infrared rays, nuclear energy, black holes, embryology, aerial engineering. The Ramayana talks about many types of cars, planes, flying saucers, robotics, airplanes, atoms, electromagnetic particles. They are described everywhere in the Vedas. The most modern scientific achievements of mankind are inside the neglected. People don't take care of this anymore in India. Indian eternal philosophy. If you want to study more with our group, it's a free group. You don't have to pay to do the courses. The classes are getting slow because I have to translate each one of them to English, and I don't know English that much, and I apologize in front of all of you for my mistakes. You can also join us on Facebook in our new page, Eternal Vedic Science. We have a page in Portuguese and Brazilian language too. And for those who really want to understand the scriptures and have like a good vision, because you have to see these things. You read on the scriptures, but then you have to realize them. You see, it's not because you just read the scriptures that you do a spiritual process. You have to realize them. To realize these things, we chant mantras like the Mahamantra, and we do a transcendental detox. The famous Ekadasi. Why do we do Ekadasi? To be able to see the layers of reality. People say nowadays that you get enlightened when your mind becomes void, where there is nothing in your mind. when your mind becomes empty. Where? In which country an empty mind is equal to conscience, to intelligence? I remember my grandmother saying to me, you have nothing in your head to chastise me. Conscience is not equal to having nothing in the head. A conscient sadhu can see everything. He can even show you the invisible. For example, the glasses are invisible, right? We can see through it. We know that air is invisible. And now, please, let us see air. There is an invisible cloud of gas, purposely invisible in between us. Because if it were blue or red or yellow, you wouldn't be able to see me. Can you see air now? The fact that you cannot see it, it's air. That's what it means to see air. You see the invisible cloud. It's right here. So we realize the Vedas doing Ekadasi, and it's very easy. In the same group called Eternal Vedic Science, we give the days and the timings to start this fasting. It's easy. You don't have to really fast. It's just a detox. And you eat all the fruits, oil seeds, all pumpkins, all potatoes, cow fresh milk for non-vegans. Ghee you can take, buckwheat you can take, water, fresh ginger, and other things. The Ekadasi help us keep fit, detox the body, and cleanse the water of the body. In that particular day, the sun, the moon, and the earth align in a particular geometrical form, and our body is washed out. All the impurity of the water goes away. We are 80% water. So Ekadasi help us clean the mind, clean the thoughts, and purifying our bad karma so that we can advance in knowledge. And I invite you all to join us. Like, we are a free study group. We are like making researchers. It would be wonderful to have doctors, Ayurveda practitioners, yoga teachers, to make a bigger group so that we can find out more about knowledge. Because, why is knowledge so important? Because knowledge is happiness. And why is ignorance so bad? Because ignorance leads to sufferance. And I thank all the beautiful Vaishnavas, all the beautiful saints, the sadhus of India, for keeping this knowledge intact with all their lives, with all their efforts. Please allow me to also thank my Guru Maharaj, Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha, for all the knowledge that he gave me, because I wouldn't be able to understand anything without him. And see you next class. Thank you very much. Thank you, Vanita, again.